loading up.
Hello, people of the internet.
Hi.
Today, you're going to hear my voice, so you're going to get annoyed. This is the second time recording this video because we didn't save it. And it's like, shit. So,
Sorry.
we do this again, but it's going to be just a quick sum up because eyes are tired. I think she was...
It's not a quick sum up. We need to talk about it
Yeah.
in its entirety, but
We're
we're gonna try not seem annoyed.
So,
I am sick, by the way.
so
And have work tomorrow.
we're going to talk about how I got the Brumby. How I got the idea was my brother, because I wanted a ute, so I was looking at Ford utes.
I mentioned when we first started dating that he liked the Brumby and might want to get one day. But that's when he first mentioned it. I never heard another word about Brumby till like years later.
Yeah, so I was looking for a ute just for a car to get to work, to carry shit, you know. So my brother was like, "Why don't you just get a baby one?" Because I like Subarus, and I was like, "What do you mean? Subaru didn't make a ute?" And he's like, "Yeah, the Brumby." I looked it up, and I was like, "What? What? What is this thing?" So I was just looking on the internet, just looking at it, research, and I was like, this is actually a cool car. So when I got the balls, I actually looked it up on Facebook Marketplace. I was just looking around for a year. I was looking for a year. All of them were parts or rusted,
Yeah.
didn't run, just weren't
Or very, very high mileage.
Yeah, and they weren't,
Like, it's an
good.
old ute. It's to be expected, but it's not what you want.
Yeah, they weren't good. They were just pretty much selling trash.
They'll pretty much like run around property vehicles that
Yeah,
got trash.
property cars. I wanted a car to go to work, come back. So I looked and I saw this one, on Facebook. I was like, it has Apple CarPlay, has speakers,
Were you impressed with the Apple CarPlay, or did it not?
it
Did it not impress?
it did, sway my decision a bit.
Because you like listening to Spotify.
Yes. Yeah, so I was like, oh, that's cool, it's got, all the insides are done. That's cool.
I'm saying it's big comfy, man.
So I texted the guy, I was like, oh, when can I come look at it? When's a good day?
And this was in the original take. He'd been kind of looking for a year and didn't really tell me. He was just looking on Marketplace, noodling around. And I had no fucking clue. So about 3 months before he goes to buy it.
So
The
I
communication needs work.
text the dude, he's like, oh yeah, Saturday's a good day. So
That was the start of where things started going wrong.
So we woke up early in the morning. We took her car. I drove because she was like still half asleep.
I'm not a morning person.
So we would, I said, hey, dude, it's going to take 2 hours for us to get there. I'm leaving now. And he's like, cool, I'll still be here. So
It was his house. Where the fuck else would he have been?
yeah, I was like, bro.
Good for you.
So we drove 2 hours to Sydney.
But he had started annoying me on the way up. He liked hitting the vibrating things on the side of the road that meant to stop you from sleeping, and it did. And he did it to annoy me, and he kept going over the speed limit, and he thought I was going crazy. But because it's my car, I can feel when it's going over the speed limit.
So
that was the start.
We get into Sydney. It was like around the middle of Sydney, so like we got to this place
It's
where
actually quite nice.
the
looking at the old
address,
shops.
the address he told us, and we're like,
Getting confused because
we got confused because we didn't
it's set up
see.
really weird, this specific area, and there's like
Yeah.
a lot of cul-de-sacs like facing onto each other, but you can't cross over cul-de-sacs, and
It's like a H. Like you drive in the middle of the H, and then there's that little H part,
And then there's
and then
another
there's
H
another
over there.
there's another street,
And then there's another one, and then
and it's
there's like,
like so
and
the
then you have a main road, and then it's pretty much replicated on the other
so
side.
it's pretty much houses, little walkway with bollards, so your car can't just drive on the other side, and then houses,
Yeah.
and it's shaped like a H, and it's
And
like,
it was so confusing
and we're
because he
like,
said he was on one street, but when we went down that street, we could not find that house number.
yeah.
And we're like, "What the fuck is going on?"
So we drove around,
We were starting to get stressed because I am looking at house streets and house like not house streets, house numbers and street names, just trying to see if we're in the right place. I'm trying to look at the map on his phone, but trying not to touch the phone. That way he can still see it. He's getting stressed. And then at one point, I think we swapped over and you were
yeah,
texting the guy.
because this dude was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna leave if you're not gonna show up. I have places to be," and I'm like, "Dude,
We're not from here.
we're not from here. We're trying to find the street, but we can't seem to find the street."
Yeah.
So he got pissy, and he's like, "Go to the cafe." I'm like, "What cafe?"
And it turned out it's one of those cafes. It's
Because
kind of like the locals know about it. It's like
yeah,
right on the bottom of one of the buildings, and there's not a lot of signage.
and there was
We
like
found it,
two cafes, and we're like, "What cafe?" And he's like,
and then I looked at the more modern looking one, and I'm like, he's probably in there.
and he's like, "This cafe," and I'm like,
Just found
"The
it. See you in a
the
second.
black one?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's that one." So I was like, "Look, we just found it. I'm running up there now."
Yeah. So he
So
got out of the car. We have been arguing at this point because I was getting stressed. I pulled over into like the street parking, but because it said something about permit holders in one spot and then something else somewhere else, and I was getting so stressed, and I was like, please don't let me get a parking ticket. And I see the parking inspector come, but obviously I had been in that spot for 2 seconds with my hazards on just to be safe because I knew I was checking something. And so I'm watching him run in the rearview mirror, which kind of made me laugh. And I was like, ha, he has to run. And it's starting to get warm. So I look at my map and I'm like, at this point, I was so angry that I actually thought I might leave you in Sydney because you had been such a jerk to me for no reason, and you actually started it. But, like, I had my hazards on, looked at it, and then I went, "You know what? Realistically, I can't leave him here because I don't know my way out of Sydney, and I didn't have enough data." So I just looked at a map for 2 seconds and went, "I'm just gonna go around to look at some of the sites around this area because there was some pretty nice, like, parks nearby." So
so
I just drove around for a bit.
so I got to the cafe. The dude there, I waved at him. He waved back, and I was like, "Hey, you selling the Brumby?" And he's like, "Yes, are you?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." So
And then did you apologize for, like,
yeah, I
everything?
was like, "Sorry, dude, I don't know Sydney well," and he's like, it's all good. People, you know,
We all get confused.
we get confused in Sydney." And I'm like,
Was he actually nice to you?
when we first met, he's like, like,
But then you were talking for a couple minutes.
shouldn't waste my time, but you know. So I was like, okay, cool.
Is that seriously what he said to you?
No, but that's the vibe he
Yeah.
pretty much gave
But
up.
then
Like,
after,
you
like, a
know,
couple minutes,
and
he
after a
realized
minute, I'm like, dude, I'm an honest, good guy. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay, I see that now.
yeah. And so he probably realized you were being genuine
So,
about being confused.
so I went to go look at the car. No rust on it, like that. And it had a tarp, still does.
You know what's funny?
The original tarp on it. And it's like,
That
it
lasted.
survived all these years.
But also, I think the problem with you, you don't see red flags because you're like, "Oh, I like red." It's not your favorite color, but you
Yes.
like red.
So it is the red flag. So I looked at it. I popped the hood. Everything looked
Looks okay.
decent
Yeah.
because it is an old car, so
Yeah.
you're gonna find old shit. But it looked decent, and
We
r-
make it out that he's not a mechanic, but he grew up around cars. He
yeah,
does know a little bit about what he's looking
it
at.
fired up the first go, and I was like,
Nice. Wasn't
you
expecting
know,
that. I was expecting a bit more of a struggle.
yeah, it just went boom, boom, boom. I was like,
Nice.
cool. It was a hot day, so carburetors do like hot days.
It got so hot by that point, I'm
Yeah,
struggling driving around in
it
my
was
sleep.
like what? It was spring.
No, it was summer.
It had Rego on it,
Yeah.
so I could drive it back home. But like I
So
looked at it, looked under it, it was clean. You know, the exhaust was exhaust. Um, the tail shafts, I was like, okay,
that might need to be done.
that might be done, but it's like easy pull off,
Yeah.
put on, done.
Did
right?
he take you for, like, a lap first and then let you drive it?
No, he's like, "Get in and we'll go for a lap." Or
Normally, a lot of people when they sell their car
I said, "Can we go for a drive?" And he's
mm,
like,
yeah,
"Yeah, sure."
there you go.
So he gave me the keys. I
And at this point, I had ended up behind them because, I'm doing a little bit of sightseeing on my own, and I don't know if the guy said something to you or you said something to him, but somehow my car was brought up, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's my missus. I'm surprised she didn't leave me."
you know, it did have like a little bit, but it was like I just tried to diagnose it. Bad choice. But it ran good. It steered good. It did everything that a car, a work car, should do. I
Yeah,
wasn't looking for fancy
yeah. You're looking for
gadgets.
comfort, but, like,
A little bit
basic
of
necessities.
yeah. Like I didn't want the fancy heated seats. This that.
Why not drive a fucking Beamer if we don't need
And
that shit, man?
the dude said it goes from A to B. That's all the car does. I was like, cool.
Very slowly.
That's what I want.
Mm,
That's I need
mm.
that. So
You pulled up, and then I pulled up back to the cafe. Cause I honestly, in that moment, I was like,
yeah,
I
because
might
you lost us because I went through a roundabout and then you lost us.
right as I'm about to turn off my car, he said, "Come here, go down this street right next to you." And then I ended up going down that street, reverse parking. And at this point, I'm still a little bit. I cooled off a little bit, but I was still a little bit annoyed. And I got out and I looked at it and said, "So is it good?" Because at that point, I needed to get out. It's so fucking hot, and at least we were in the shade there. I was like,
Yeah.
and I was
So
like, "Is it good?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's good." And then I said, and I remember saying, "Oh, I think," because I heard you in front of me. I was like, "I think the alternator might not be the best." And you were like, it's okay."
yeah,
And then
she was right.
yeah,
I gave him the money, counted it out, and
he
then
signed the papers,
he signed. Oh, sorry, I signed the papers. He signed it. He sent it to me. Um,
and then there was a bunch of extra
and
parts.
then he's like, "Oh, I got extra parts for it." And I was like, "Yeah, you said that in the ad. Like, how many?" He's like,
Oh, a lot.
"A lot. You want to come and
Help
grab
me.
them?" And I'm like,
Oh
"Sure." So
shit, they're wolfing.
I was like, "You gonna help?"
And because at this point, and I think it was the way you also asked me for help, and I
Yeah.
was like, the Charlotte Dobre moment. I've been watching a lot of her, but in my head in that moment, I was like, the fucking audacity.
Well, that's
And I was just said no. One of my workmates had called me about something. No problem at work. They called me. I got out of my phone, so I like out of my car. Was talking to him for a couple minutes, hung up, and then this guy come up to me and was like, "Oh, do you want to come and help us? There's a lot of parts." And I laughed, and because I was just hanging up the phone, he came up to me right as I was hanging up the phone. So I didn't catch all of what he said, and I just laughed because my friend said something funny. And I look at him and I'm like, hmm. And then he goes, "Oh, there's a lot of parts. You want to come help us?" And I'm like, "Oh, I thought you guys could handle it." And he was like, "Oh, there's a bit. Please come help us." And I was like, "Okay."
so
So I was kind of bitchy. I didn't mean to be, but like you
we
could see I was on the fucking phone. Wait a minute.
we filled the Brumby
Oh,
up.
that was full.
Yeah. He gave me the keys and she followed me and I was like,
That's good.
"Look, let's go to College Junior."
Well, I agree to go to Sydney for Carl Jr. and Taco Bell. I love me some chili cheese
Yeah.
fries.
So I was like, "Okay, look, let's go to College Junior, get something to eat, and we'll drive home." She was like, "Okay, first cover the windscreen." I was like, "With what?" And she's like,
I
"With
don't care
whatever. I gotta change my shirt,
because I have
and
a little problem.
I'm not wearing a bra or a shirt." And it's like,
Okay, when we left that morning, it was so fucking cold. It was so cold. I assumed that we would be back in 4 hours. So before I got hot, because it took us longer to find this place, because I was driving around for so much longer, because I couldn't find a park and everything, and I was in my car, and I was being stubborn, refused to turn my air conditioner on. I got so hot, and somehow in a bunch of clothes that I had in the back seat that I was gonna donate, there was this workout shirt that still fits me. Don't know how I ended up in the mix. Thank God I found it. So I was like, I need to put that on because it had like the built-in sports bra with like the tank top, and I was like, I need that. It's just cover the window.
so
Says thank you, faint while driving. Not recommended.
I used the jumper and my jumper just to cover the windows.
Just to be safe.
She got changed, and I was like, "Okay, follow me to Carl's Jr. So
My air conditioner works good.
I didn't have any. I was sweating balls. So we drove to Carl's Jr. My car was overheating because I didn't find the thermo fans and they weren't hooked up correctly. So I was like, shit, we need to find Carl Jr. now. So we drove
We always know where Carl Jr. is.
the car cooled down when we were driving because the traffic stopped. So we went there, we got Carl's Jr. And then I was like, look, follow me out of Sydney.
Then do whatever the fuck you want.
And then, you know, if we break down, I'll flash my lights or I'll get in front of you,
If we need to
indicate,
turn off
indicate,
somewhere.
you know, if we need to turn off anywhere. And you're like,
Like, we had a system in place, and I just threw all out to the wind because I was like,
so
I'm chilling.
we got to the highway, pardon me.
Well, just remember, this was a good 40, 50 minutes of me following you in traffic doing like 60, 40. And then your car, at that point, we were starting to go uphill to get to the highway. Didn't was sitting on 90, 95 for a while on the 110. And I was like, I'm getting annoyed. The car behind me getting annoyed. The car behind them getting annoyed. And I said, fuck it. I'm just going to overtake you.
Yeah, so she took off as the little Fast and Furious chick she is.
I was doing the speed limit, literally. And I saw you look at me, and you hate admitting it, but you have to admit I look pretty hot gapping you.
Sounds wrong, but yes. So, you
Music
know,
blaring.
highway's highway, you know,
Music
it's
cruiser.
highway. But I said, look, let's stop here when we were at college. You know, I was like, let's stop at this fuel station so we could get fuel because I was like on half a tank, and she was like on a little bit more than
Yeah.
half a tank. So
But like from that point back home, I would not have had enough.
yeah, so I was like, look, I'll buy you fuel more because you know I was being an ass because we
No,
got
that was the reason I agreed to come. You said I will pay you for the petrol and I'll get you Carl's Jr. And I was like, okay, sold.
really easy to bribe her. So we got to the fuel station that we were going to pull over.
Actually,
I
no, you tried to overtake me at one
Yeah,
point before
I
that.
tried to overtake her, and then but she was like, "You're not overtaking me."
No, I was just vibing to my music, heard something funny, and I turned down the radio. I was like, "That's not my car, is it?" I looked in the rearview mirror, saw his ass struggling to catch up, and he starts to catch up, and he looks like he's about to overtake me. So me and my petty self, I was like, "We're about to go uphill, power, boom," because I slowed right back down to make sure I wasn't too far ahead. And in that moment, I was like, "Fuck you." And apparently, I only found out the other day when we got to the fuel station. Apparently, he was flashing his lights,
Yeah,
using his indicator, and
I flashed my lights. I indicated,
hand out the window.
hand out the window. She did not, and she was like,
He
"Oh,"
thought I knew the whole time, and I just
she was
knew. And
like, "Ooh, fuel station," Brr. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So she did see, just didn't respond. Okay, that's cool.
turns out I did not see it at all. I just you said South Moreland or North Moreland. I don't know. One of the Morelands. BP pull over. So BP Moreland pulled over.
So she pulled over. I she slowed down. I got in front, and then she just like parked Bowser behind me.
No, I was across from you, so you were here and I was over
Oh
here.
yeah.
So
So
I was still behind you, but off to the
I
side, and there was this
filled
dude in a four-wheel drive in front of me and looking at me. I'm like, no.
I filled my car up, and she came over and said, "So it survived, sadly." And I was like,
I didn't
"Huh."
say sadly. I said you survived.
Yeah. I was sweating balls because still no aircon,
Yeah, that was when I found out you had no aircon. And I was pissed at myself.
and radio was not working. So
Yeah, I didn't know that until like a couple months ago.
because you needed Wi-Fi, and I didn't have any Wi-Fi.
And you had used all your data when we were trying to find where we were.
Yeah. So I was like, so it's stupid. I got it working. Yeah,
You
just
could have just borrowed my phone.
every time I turn my car on, it just hooks into my phone straight away. I'm like,
Yeah, I wish
cool.
I liked to do that with me. But yeah,
So
so this whole time I thought he was vibing out to his music on the way home. Turned out he wasn't.
I was just through
You couldn't
my
hear it.
phone, and I couldn't hear it because the window was open. The car drowned it out. So
I ordered the more expensive thing.
I paid for her fuel and my fuel, and got her a drink because it was hot, and I was like,
It bit about faint.
so I think I got you Pepsi. Yeah, so I got a drink. I got myself two drinks because it'd
He
be
overestimates how much he can handle before his bladder gives out.
it'd be sweaty. Um,
Yeah, didn't you get yourself Powerade because of how much you were sweating?
yes. So I went by. I was like number 4 and 6,
And the woman looked so confused until I walked up and said, "Thanks, babe."
and then she was like,
Ah.
"Oh,"
And then she go, "Oh, buying for the missus," or something
and
like
then
that.
so I had to do separate transactions so she could actually put it through.
Mm. She was so
Bought
sweet about it.
bought that. Got in the cars and went, "Look, babe,
Like, I knew it was
it's."
straight, but I just confirmed it is just straight from here turning at Yark
And I was
Valley
like,
Way.
"Yes, just when you see Canberra, do not turn left
Why,
to
I
go
wouldn't mind
on
it going from Canberra.
to go." So I was like, "Just go straight. Just don't turn. Just go straight." She's like, "I can do that." So we go on highway. She took me
You kept
over.
trying to overtake
She
me.
took me over again, and I was like, I tried to catch up to her, but she was like,
No, you overtook me at one point, and I let you stay in front for a little bit, and
and
then
then she
in the
took
end, I
me.
was so
Yeah.
bored, and I was like, and then I realized we were coming up to a hill, and your car had once again gone straight back down. And I don't even know what speed, but I was like, I can overtake you doing not even the speed limit. So I did it. But I was like, I am bored, it is hot, and I want to go home.
So she just kept driving,
Just,
and then
chilling to my music.
so she turned, we turned, got back home. Highways are highways, not interesting to talk about.
It is fun to drive on.
Got home,
My dad was so excited to see
parked
it.
in the driveway. Your dad was cool, going, "Oh my god, what are you gonna do to this? Like, this is so cool. It's a little Brumby. I haven't seen these since I was a kid."
Fuck off. He would have been married in
Yeah,
92.
your mum was like, "Cool."
She was more annoyed because he had walked in the house and she said, she made a joke about it. You know, you joked and said, "Oh, we'll probably call it the bus bucket sort of thing or the ship." No, you
Shit
said,
bucket,
yeah, because you called the car the ship box and then because the
Brumby,
tray,
shit bucket.
yeah. And so she made a joke and you took it the wrong way because you were hot and still kind of shitty from earlier. And so you insulted the blue ute. And then she got pissy with you for parking on the driveway because she was like, "How dare you?"
They looked at it, went, "Cool, cool, yep, this is
My
the
dad
new
loved it.
car." And then I think I'd work on the Monday.
Mm.
Took it to work.
What was everyone's at work reaction to it?
Everyone was like, "It's a little car."
It's a baby.
And I'm like, "Yeah, it is a little car. Good job, boys. You can."
You can see.
It's the size of Jojo. Jojo looked and said, "Well, your belt's gonna snap, so you better get a new one."
You went, "No, oh
And
yeah, it
then
is."
and then he leant on it and he's like, "And your shocks are blown." I'm like, "Well, you turd, you broke them." And he's like, "I leant on the car." And I'm like, "You broke them." So
You guys were so mean to Jojo. It's no wonder
so
he left.
yeah, and then I got a new belt, did the shafts in it. It started to become a car that can drive.
Yeah.
Starter motor, alternator, you know. And then I did my little service on it because he said he did his little service. And I was like, "I don't trust you, sir."
Yeah, I don't trust you, sir, with services either.
So I did my own little service. Um, and then yeah, just started, just upgrading, new belt, everything, and it started to just go to work, come back until cylinder number 4 went, "Oh
Bye
yeah, we're
bye.
just not gonna work no more." Boom. And it's like, "Oh, what? Why?" What the? Yeah. So now it's on the driveway collecting whatever it's collecting.
Probably an STI.
Motor,
Delicious.
motor. um. So yeah, now I'm just gonna just
We're gonna work on it. We've already got a video on
Yeah,
that. All the videos we've done about this
I'm
vehicle so
going
far.
to pull the engine out and then swap it with an EJ.
That's gonna be a lot of work. We're gonna
Yeah.
try and film as much as we can, but unfortunately to do that you can do it yourself, but you need an engineer to sign off on it.
And I
And it's just
need,
better to get a professional to do that
yeah, a
specifically.
mechanic. So,
But we will
uh,
try and film as much as possible, even if that means Corey dropping it in and he just, asks the people if he can just not even just record them, but just record what they're saying and we can overlay it. You know, I'm
yeah,
sure they'd be
so,
fine with it if you explain we do this, but all those other videos in the playlist will be linked up here somewhere.
and I know how to look after an EJ better than a carbureted engine. Carburetor boxer engine. Yeah.
Would you say that it's been worth owning it?
I had fun, yes.
And you did
The,
say from the beginning you were gonna drive that thing into the ground and then you were gonna EJ swap it.
yeah. Uh, the price, then it was reasonable because there was like no rust yet. Yeah, and I was like, that's good. And then
As
now
time's gone on, you look back and you
it's
think,
like, okay, I should have bargained them down.
like even if it were
Yeah,
to $500, that would have been $500 more for the parts.
yeah, but
We still have the original bumper for it out the back there somewhere. If
got
you ever need it.
got a bull bar. So yeah, you win, you lose.
Yeah.
I work, I got the money back. It's fine. But yeah, so now it's just
Matter of fixing it up
fixing
and
it
doing
up
what you
and
want with it.
doing what I want with it, and then
And you're
gonna
keeping it as a sleeper, right?
yeah. So
Sleeper refers to a car
I'm
that's very powerful but doesn't look very
look,
looked after.
I'm not gonna turbo it now because you know
Maybe in a year or so.
maybe in a year or so I'll think and go,
You'll turbo it before we get married, I know that,
and then
because you're gonna wanna get some cool photos.
I'll look, I'll go, okay, cool, look, I'll turbo it, and it go boom. So I'm just figuring out what I'm
Yeah.
doing with it,
Yeah, and
and
trying to
then
get, like, prices and quotes, but, that is a very interesting part that we're gonna document because there's a lot of other people that have older cars that are doing this, and we wanna document our experience to help you guys out a little bit and, you guys can share your tips and tricks with us.
I might get you know modified parts.
Mm.
Like I'm getting a modified exhaust
Would
where
you be you if you didn't?
so the guys actually make the exhaust for the car.
Were they the one that we saw at, Sleeping Out?
No, not X Force.
Okay,
They make it for the car. I'm going to the dude in Mitchell
okay,
who actually has exhaust shop.
okay.
So I'm like, cool. But yeah, that's the story of the Brumby.
That's the
We've spent good times in it. The last good time was took her to go see Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. That was the last time it ran perfectly and did not screw up. R.I.P.
yeah, RIP cylinder
It
4.
was a cool little car. We went there, we came back, we were singing our hearts out in the cabin, just going, country songs, pop songs. We were at night singing our hearts out on the highway. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna forget that night. That that story of the Brumby.
yeah,
There'll be more videos on it
yeah.
because
That's
it's
just
the
how it
Brumby.
is.
Brumby. So I'm gonna say goodnight because I was very tired.
It is like 10:48 because we had to
Use
film this a second time.
use it probably tired.
A little bit because I've been sick and I do have to go to work tomorrow.
Okay.
Then we're going out to celebrate our friend's birthday tomorrow night, and then Saturday night it's your birthday. He's finally turning
Yay!
22.
So I'm gonna say
Just
goodnight
prick me.
and goodbye. Anything to say?
You just prick my eyeball with your beard.
That's French for see you later. See you later.
Give my French.
Okay, so what she
Bye.
said was